I feel like we start entirely too many days with you laying here with the tail flapping and you yawning. What do you say you and I go out for a walk, huh? I'm taking a little road adventure today. And you're having a play date with one of your friends. How does that sound? Does that sound pretty good? You want to go hang out with one of your friends? Okay. Daze with Jordan the Lion begins now. Well, good morning, my friends. It's your old pal, Jordan the Lion. How are you all doing today? I hope you said great. I'm doing great as well, and we're going to have a fun day. We're going to go out to Ojai Valley today. I don't think we've ever went there together. I think I've only been there for catering jobs, and that was quite a while ago, so we've never vlogged it, and we're going to go a little outside of it because Johnny Cash from 1961 until he walked away in 1968 and returned to Nashville lived out in where we're going. We're going to talk about what brought him here, what his life was like out here, and it should be a lot of fun because Johnny Cash is great. This time in his life was really tumultuous, but sometimes that brings out some of the most interesting stories. So, Daze with Jordan the Lion begins now. And today's special Patreon sunglass vlog is going out to Michelle Dalton. Michelle, I hope you're a Johnny Cash fan. Now let's roll. Taking the Ventura Freeway, about an hour outside of Los Angeles, heading for a place called Casitas. So how I found out about this whole story was actually when I was back catering. We were going through this town and they had a little, I guess you'd say a billboard calling it the hometown of Johnny Cash, and I fell down a rabbit hole reading about his days here. Now at the time, Johnny Cash was leaving Sun Records. He had become a big star and was joining Columbia and decided to move out here to Los Angeles, and you'll see off to the right an exit sign for Havenhurst. Originally, that's where he and his wife Vivian and their 3 daughters were living in a house here on Havenhurst. We'll vlog that another time. But John took a drive one day out past Ojai out here and discovered this plot of land, this town called Casitas, and he loved it because it was more like where he grew up in Arkansas, more of a fishing and hunting community. Just from those hills that civilization is starting to change from what you know Los Angeles as. If you're ever looking for that Santa Claus, it's right at the Santa Claus exit. Literally, it's Santa Claus Avenue. All right, there's the 33, that's what we need. So Johnny wasn't really necessarily a stranger to this area because he had performed here back on his tour in 1956. There was a town right here, like going through here, called Foster Park, and he played at the Moose Lodge there, and when he lived out here, he used to go party at that place. I think it was called Oki's Tavern or something like that. And they ended up just getting rid of the entire town to put in this Route 33. And they actually got rid of the town while he would have lived out here in 1965. As you can see, a lot of oil fields out here and a lot of people working for the oil companies. I'm trying to show you a lot of scenery so you'll see what Johnny was kind of experiencing coming out here. Now all that's left of that little town is basically a place called Foster County Park we're passing through. Here we are, Casitas Springs. That's what we were looking for. Now here you can see as we enter town, this is what I saw that day. Now Johnny had been trying to get his parents to come and move out to California, and he was not having much success because they didn't want to live in the suburbs. They didn't want to live in Encino like John did. So one day Johnny had taken a drive out here to Ojai Valley with his manager, saw this area, and he said, I think I can get my parents to move out here. So we're gonna go over to a place that Johnny first set his roots out here, and the way that he did it was he decided to buy this property and ask his parents to run it. I'm gonna show you some of Casitas Springs. It's not very big. Even at the time, when Johnny lived here, there were only 300 people living in town. Lots of traffic coming through too. There's a sign for Nye Road. That's where Johnny lived. We'll come back to that. I don't know who lives here. Could be the new Munsters house, but this is amazing. Take a look at this. I just saw this place as I was driving by. Wasn't meant to be part of the vlog, but I gotta share it. Wow. I don't know what the story is, but wow. So in 1961, the first thing that Johnny Cash did was come out here and buy what's now Country Village Trailer Park. But he bought the trailer park and he called it Johnny Cash's Trailer Rancho. And he got his parents, Ray and Carrie, to come out and run it. He built a house for him here. And so quite often he and Vivian and the girls were coming out to visit, and he eventually decided he wanted to build a house out here. And Vivian said, whatever Johnny wants, Johnny gets. So part of Johnny's reason for wanting to move out here also is because his daughter Rosanna was allergic to smog, and there was a lot of smog where they lived on Havenhurst. And out here the air was cleaner, fresher. Johnny loved to come out here to hunt and fish anyway. And basically they just decided that was what they were going to do. John decided he wanted to build a house on top of a mountain, and that's exactly what he did. He had someone go and make a pathway up to the top of this mountain and then showed his family this empty plot of land and said, this is where I'm going to build our house. And he meticulously did have every say in that house. He helped design everything about it. It was a 5-bedroom house, and in fact he had the ceilings painted in their bedroom black with silver flakes because he wanted to resemble stars on the ceiling. But what he also did was, they said when he went up there and started the planning process, he laid down in the dirt and laid out, spread his arms out, and told the guy, this is how big I want the bathtub, this is where I want the bathroom, this is where I want the bedroom, and just literally laid the whole thing out himself. So now we'll go over to where Johnny built that house and all the trouble he got into. Just show what a little bit of the trailer park looks like. Not very big. Here are all the mailboxes. Yeah, not very big at all. Just loops around. Wonder what happened to the sign that used to be out here for it. And the trailer park was in Oakview, so we're leaving Oakview now. That's what that sign says. I've seen where the Cash daughters said they had no idea why they moved out here, because they said this wasn't the nicest place to live and there wasn't really anything here. So right here by this pole you can see the address, 8736, except it's up a private road and they have a no trespassing sign. And I read online that the home is owned by the Montecito fire chief. So I probably better not trespass. I have another idea. Now here you can see the mountain and you can see all the homes below it. This is Nye Road. And Johnny decided to build his home above it. 12 acres right up here. That's where he decided to build their home. And the kids said they thought it was weird because, you know, while they're up there playing, they're looking down on everyone and all of the kids down here are looking up at them. But Johnny loved that place. And they said that he scrutinized every bit of the building process and then wasn't even here when it was completed to move in. He was out on tour. And in fact, Vivian said that's why she was willing to move out here. She said, you know, I thought that this would slow him down because he was used to the nightlife. He was used to drinking and doing pills from being out on the road, and she was hoping this would kind of slow him down a little bit, and it didn't do that because he was out on the road 250 days out of the year once they would move in here. And he did say that was one of his regrets, that he thought that things would be better living out here. and it was while he was living out here. He used to, at Christmas time, he had a big giant illuminated cross that he had up there, and then he would light off fireworks. That was a tradition for him. So he would, without asking anyone, light off fireworks up here and then blast Christmas carols because he had hooked up a big sound system up there. And he also had a big menagerie of pets, parrots and snakes and dogs and cats and everything up there. You can kind of see the house a little bit over here, but not too much. It's a private drive, you couldn't do much about it. Now, Johnny also didn't slow down with the drinking while he lived out here because a couple of his label mates, John and Joni Mosley, lived out here and they had a bar, and Sheb Woolley from Rawhide lived out here, and Johnny became good friends with him, bought into a little shopping plaza together, and those two used to go out drinking and everything. And Vivian said this became a problem because sometimes there would be a bang at the door and it would be a drunken Johnny and she didn't want to put up with him, and sometimes it would be a drunken fan that had come up there to meet Johnny, and he was out on tour. So that wasn't necessarily the best for her situation either. It says online that Johnny planted those trees there himself, that row of trees. So Johnny got himself into quite a bit of trouble while he lived out here in 1965. He was drinking and Vivian told him to get out, so he took off, got into their mobile home that he had and tore off down the driveway and then went out to Los Padres National Forest. Well, apparently his tailpipe or something was scraping, and while he was driving through there, it ignited a fire and ended up over a week burning 500 acres of Los Padres National Forest. And when they brought him into court and they asked him about it, apparently during this time in his life he was kind of a real jerk and he was real surly. And when he went in there, they said, you know, did you start that fire? And he said, no, I didn't start the fire. My truck did. My truck's dead, so you can't prosecute it. And any question they had, he had kind of a surly answer for it. So he ended up having to, originally the judgment was $125,000 in restitution for all the damage that had been done, and then they lowered it to $82,000, but he really didn't seem to care about that at all. And something that he did while he lived out here has lived on in infamy, a song that he wrote, but a lot of people don't know that he technically wrote it. So let's head on out to the lake. And it was during his time living out here that he would be touring with the Carter family and would become very, very close to June Carter. Alright, I was able to get a little further back, so now we can get a little bit better view of the property up there. Not great, but a little something. So before we take off, I'm at his driveway and I found this funny story about him out joyriding in his Cadillac one night and the police trying to pull him over and him leading them on a 6-mile chase going 90 miles per hour, and they ended up pulling him over right in front of his driveway, which is right here, and he didn't have his license on him or anything. And when he was asked why he wouldn't pull over, he said, I still wanted to see if I could outrun the cops. His house is actually right beyond these bushes up on that hill. Off to Lake Casitas. So this is the lovely Lake Casitas, and John used to spend many a days out here on boats fishing, and that's one of the main reasons he wanted to come out here. This had been dammed up in 1959 and they've been adding the water for a long time, and they had recently stocked it full of largemouth bass and rainbow trout. So Johnny would come out here all the time and fish, and both Curly Lewis and Vivian said in interviews that John wrote Ring of Fire while sitting on a boat out in this lake, and said that since he was in the middle of an affair with June Carter, he actually gave the writing credit to Merle Kilgore and June Carter, but they both said that it was actually Johnny Cash that wrote that song and that he wrote it right here. Now in 1965, Johnny Cash was arrested for trying to smuggle pills across the border from Juarez, Mexico, and that pretty much was enough for Vivian to say that she was done. In 1966, she filed for divorce, and she ended up getting the house up on the hill, and she got the shopping plaza that was in Oakview that we talked about. We'll actually go by there on our way out of here, see if we can't find that. And he had co-owned that with Sheb, but John got to keep the trailer park. This is the place I stopped if you want to try it out yourself. I also picked up a little sandwich because Boar's Head is the best. Now that is an amazing Reuben. Look at that on rye bread. Oh. Oh, hello. Nice horse. So in June of 1966, Johnny Cash went off on tour and didn't come back. In August, Vivian filed for divorce and ended up getting this shopping plaza, which was then at the time known as the Purple Wagon Shopping Mall or Shopping Plaza, and this is what he co-owned with Sheb. So she got this and the house, and he got the trailer park. You can see it's still all the same original buildings out here, all being used. This is now the Moose. So if you're wondering what happened to Vivian after they got divorced, she sold both properties, met another man, got married, moved to Ventura, took the girls to Ventura, and Rosanna said as soon as they got a divorce and as soon as they moved away, it was like someone opened the windows and let in fresh air for their mother. She immediately became vibrant, had a social life again, became very active, joined lawn bowling clubs, and instead of sitting up on that hill alone while Johnny was out touring, she now had a life again. Alright my friends, we're gonna call it a day. I hope you all enjoyed this vlog on Johnny Cash's Daze here in Casitas Springs. We're gonna call it a night. Thank you Mary Jane Blahnik for becoming my newest Patreon. We'll see you all next time. Have a great night and goodbye.